Look at you. Look at you, you freaky, freaky beast. Don't you just love Freaky Friday on the block with Jen? Don't you just love it? You learn so much here. We get to adulthood and we think we know everything and seen everything. And then some people pull up to the block and teach us a whole lot more. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Freaky Friday edition of On the Block with Jen. I am your favorite devil's advocate, Jen. You can reach me on all social media platforms on the block with Jen. That's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, especially. Okay. And on the block with Jen at Gmail. If you want to see a lot more of me, no, I don't have an OnlyFans. You can head on over to Instagram instead. On the block with Jen, Instagram. If you want to support the show tonight or any other night or catching the replay, just want to send me a Cash App gift, even when I'm not on air. Scrolling on the bottom, Cash App on the block with Jen. There you will have full discretion. Okay. A lot of people don't like other people seeing where their money goes. Okay. Especially when they're gifting it. So that'll be between you and I. I will send you back a heart so you know I received it. Okay. Now, if you don't care a damn about people seeing where your money goes, feel free to hit me with a super chat. And make sure if you want your comments seen and read and answered by one of our panelists, you throw it in a super chat. Okay? I can see you better when your comments attached to a super chat. Yeah, that's how it works here. So don't forget, if you want to collab with me, interview me, want me to interview someone, want me to collaborate, with an interview on your channel, or you want to reach out to me or one of my guests, feel free on the block with Jen at Gmail. We also take topic suggestions in there. I get a lot of suggestions, so it doesn't mean I'm going to pick yours, right? Make sure you let yourself be seen in there. Okay. A lot of people cash at me and say, I emailed you, and then you got my full attention because time is money. We're all adults here. We know that, right? We know that, right? It's a little truth for you. All right, guys. So I'm glad you're here spending a couple hours with us on Freaky Friday on the block with Jen. We have Mr. Justin pulling back up. Okay. The Dom coach. He teaches men how to be more dominant in life. And you guys need that. Okay, especially in the age of social media where a lot of you now are hypersensitive. Something strange is happening to men. So we need people like Mr. Justin to remind you what masculinity looks like, especially in relationships. Tonight's topic, have you tried fucking her into submission? The word submission is used a lot on social media. Submissive. You have to be submissive and agreeable. I want a woman who's submissive. Submission, submissive, right? You guys turned it into a dirty word, right? Where submission should be something that she wants to do, right? So since it's Freaky Friday, we're going to discuss fucking her into submission. It's happened to me. It's real. So maybe tonight we can get some tips on how to do that. Yeah. Let's get this party started. And as usual, we talk about our own personal experience. So I may spill a bean or two. We shall see. Let me welcome up the always lovely and talented Lily from YB Limited. I'm hoping that you are following my panelists. Okay, that's how it works. Each one teach one and support one. Good evening, doll.
Well, hello. I got my non-alcoholic champagne,
Same.
ginger ale.
Same. Not ginger ale, but I like my crayons. I like my crayons.
I love crayons too.
How you doing tonight?
I'm so much better. Not 100, but baby, where I'm at, I'll take it. I will take it all day long. We've moved in the right direction. We've crossed over that threshold. Good. I now feel human again.
Good. Well, we want you human and we want you here. So it is nice to see you. Hold me down, chat. You already know what it is. Also, you guys can come up tonight if you have suggestions, questions, rebuttals, contradictions. Even on Freaky Friday, it works the same way. You have to show your face. We don't talk to avatars here, right? We are all adults. We like looking at faces. Faces make for better conversations. If you don't want to come up, you can hold me down in the chat just the same. Throw the comment in the super chat if you want to ask a question to me or anyone on the panel. Without another further, let's welcome Mr. Justin, who's pulling up on the block again. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on, ladies? Good to see y'all again. And yeah, for those who please come up onto the panel if you have questions. Come on. You can ask
your connection, Justin.
Give advice. Yeah. Don't be
scared.
Mr.
Justin, we can't. You're pixelated. We can't hear you. Technical difficulties. Hold on, chat. Hold on, viewers. Okay, so he'll come back in. So tonight's topic, have you tried fucking her into submission? Lily, don't we hear a lot about submission? Submissive and submission is a huge hit on the internet. It's like the most requested, right? The most requested gift on the internet is a woman to submit, right? She has to submit and be agreeable. And I want to discuss with Mr. Justin tonight, how do men go about getting submission? Because I think they think women are supposed to come that way out of the womb. Like we're born and here comes this little submissive entity for men to do what they want with her, right? Not so much. Not so much. Let's bring Mr. Justin back up. Hello, sir.
Hey, any better now?
Much better.
Okay, cool.
Much better. So, Mr. Justin, yes, let's jump right in. Can you remind the guys watching, and also Mr. Justin was saying earlier, feel free to come up and ask questions, okay? Normally you have to pay for this information. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, okay? We got Mr. Justin here. Let's take advantage of the situation. I'll be asking questions, Lily as well. You guys want to ask questions and you're scared to come up, throw them in the chat, okay? You make this thing happen. Right. Mr. Justin, can you briefly tell people what is submission and submissive? It's like the greatest hit that keeps playing on social media. All the men want it.
Well, I made a video about this recently. Well, actually not recently, but I made a video about this. And from listening to a lot of guys talk about submission, I don't think that they actually want submission.
Oh.
I really don't. No. I think they have a really poor understanding of what that is simply because they've never actually experienced it. What they're looking for is cooperation. I think that's really what they're looking for. And cooperation is not submission, right? When someone submits to you, they're looking for your leadership. They're looking for your guidance. They're looking for you to hold that foundation. And it's actually a lot of responsibility. The deeper the person submits to you, right? So it's not just her body, it's her mind, it's her emotions, it's her spirit, and it goes all the way down into her core if you know how to go in there. And once you're there, it's kind of it's a pretty big responsibility. If you're so like the guys that I teach, I don't really teach them to go deep in unless they're in a fully committed, long-standing relationship, because otherwise it can lead to all kinds of havoc. I see it in the BDSM world all the time, where like a dom gets with a sub and they have this really, really deep connection, and then the dom gets bored and just bounces. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm not talking about just like falling in love with someone, right? Like in relationship, it's nothing like that. It's like, it's more or less like a religious conversion. That much devotion that goes into that person, how much you've opened up and let this person basically guide your thoughts, right? Where the dominant is the first thing that you think of. You think about this person all day long and how to serve them. And the last thing you think of before you go to sleep every single day. It's like, right. It's like a walking religion in that sense. And then to have a dominant just kind of skip off and leave these submissives in this state of just, it's like, imagine being on a rowboat in the middle of the ocean. And you're just plopped there out of the blue. You'd be like, what the fuck is going on? How did I get here? Right. And it can put you in a serious lurch. So I don't think that it's for everyone. And I vet my clients to make sure that they really have a greater understanding. And so I know what kind of relationship they're in and how far they can go. I definitely don't teach this sort of stuff to guys who are just like kind of playing the field and they're dating around and all that stuff. It doesn't work. I've made mistakes.
Okay, so So you're saying that that's deep.
Okay.
So you're saying that a lot of men want submission, but they may not be equipped to handle a woman fully submitting, basically.
Right. Because they've never experienced it. They don't know what they're talking about. What they're really looking for, I think the average guy, what he's really looking for is cooperation.
Okay.
He doesn't want to butt heads. All right. He wants his woman to just trust him, trust his judgment, trust his decisions, and go along with that. The problem is that a lot of these guys are coming from a place of self-doubt, right? They don't have the foundation within themselves, the belief within themselves to fully make that decision and be solid in who they are and what they think of themselves and how they see the world. And basically that's basically your program is, this is how I see the world. This is how I move in the world. And then it's like, if she likes that, then he can kind of bring her into his program. But a lot of guys, they have a lot of self-doubt. So, and women can smell doubt, like even just the tiniest bit. Like you can sniff it out on a dude. And then if it's just a little bit, it's like, all right, cool. Like maybe it's just the situation, and maybe it is sometimes just that situation, right? But if it keeps recurring and she's like, man, this guy just starts stinking like doubt. And then the next thing you know, you're taking care of him. And he just kind of like lets all that edge or lets all that leadership just kind of slide over into you. And next thing you know, you're standing there at the helm and you're like, fuck, I didn't sign up to be standing here at the helm, holding the wheel, driving this boat. And yeah. And don't want to be in that position. Then the resentment builds and you just say, fuck, I want to get out of this situation. You know? And then the average guy is like, oh, what the fuck's wrong with her? But really, like I was saying, like these guys, they just want cooperation. They don't, they're largely ill-equipped to deal with submission. When a woman just really gives over her entire being into a guy and having that level of trust in him, it's crazy.
Yeah. I'm like chewing on a lot. That's a lot. That's a whole T-bone steak. I mean, Justin, you could have started off with like a few appetizers, like the practice with the caviar or something.
Right. No,
Mr. Justin says you getting all this dick.
Right.
You getting all this dick. We ain't playing tonight. No. We are not playing. I mean, that's mind blowing. So basically what they want is cooperation. The majority of men are not prepared for submission. And it's funny because in my past situations of relationships, I don't think I've ever met a man that I could fully submit to. Maybe I have and I missed it, but I think men are rare when you're like, you know what, I'm going to give you all of this and all of me, and I can trust that you're going to take care of it. I always had to be like the safety net or break emergency glass, or sometimes pull my pants up to help him out a little too much, right? And then
nobody's perfect, so every now and then it's gonna happen. That's life. You know what I'm saying? But because like in my world, like the submissive is also there to be watching, like she's serving him, right? So she's also watching his six, but not in the way like a mom would, right? Or your auntie, right? It's a different sort of watching your six. It's like it's like it's from a submissive point of perspective, right? It's a place of serving. So I'm getting your six out of being serving, but it's more so largely because I trust the structure by which you're moving and the way you're regulating this relationship. But again, like, if it happens too frequently, then you're like, all right, like, because then you start feeling the effects of that. And it gives you a sense of being unsettled, right? And so it's like, if they're unsettled, then you're not going to be able to be settled. So then you have to shore yourself up and, to kind of prevent emotional injury, physical injury, financial injury, or whatever, just something going wrong. And so that leads you kind of becoming more masculine in the situation. Like you can't fully be submissive. The problem is that if you're a very masculine woman, which is totally fine, there's plenty of guys who like masculine women, but if you're not into that kind of guy, the more masculine you are, the more softer guys you're going to attract. Right? Because that's the nature of the universe. Yin yang. That's the balance. Okay? So the more masculine you are, the more structured you are, the tougher you are, you're going to bring in the opposite of that, right? I don't attract aggressive, tough women. I just don't. They never get into my DMs. They're never liking any of my posts. They're never inquiring about my work or anything like that. It's usually softer, this sideways sort of like, hi, right? Like really, really shy and submissive, like really kind of like tiptoeing around things. Never am I dealing with masculine women for years now. And so it's just the balance of nature. So if you're like that and you want like a man's man, right? They're gonna have to be more than you to kind of, because if that's right. So if you're at an 8, you're gonna have to get a 10. Not in terms like looks, or I'm talking about in terms of dominance. So that might not exactly be pleasurable. You're gonna be like, holy shit, this is a motherfucking tyrant.
10 is a tyrant.
Right.
I've had a 10.
Because if you're a dictator, they're gonna have to be a tyrant. You see what I'm
Very
saying?
true. Very, very true.
Now, if you're like a level 2, all they gotta be is a 3 or a 4 or 5, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling this man. You know, he doesn't have to be an 8. You know, in terms of dominance, right? He just has to be more than you.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much for the early super chat, Carlos Toscano.
I would love everyone to rate themselves in the chat. What do they think themselves at as far as dominance is concerned or masculine?
Yeah,
let us know, chat.
Jen, you're like an 8.
I'm an 8.
Oh yeah.
What about me, Justin?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
what about me, Justin?
I don't know you well enough.
Okay.
But you're lower than Jen, though. I could say that.
So I need like a 9 or a 10.
Right. And that might not be very pleasant.
Shit, fuck. Yep. I've been this way so long.
He's gonna have to like tell you what the fuck to do, like all the time, just to because your natural state, because it's been that way for so long.
Yeah,
it'll take a while to like kind of like tamp that down to where you can like kind of settle it out and like relax and then become soft.
Okay, so there's hope for me yet.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like there's like a small gap between the top of your head and that ceiling. You know? But you know.
So that's funny because in the manosphere spaces, when I'm walking into a manosphere space or they're coming here, I promise you something happens to me physically and mentally. No lie. It's kind of like a speed Hulk where I'm kind of like, oh God, there's a bitch in here. And let me control this very quickly so I can take his head off very quickly. Like I automatically, you know what I mean, do this. And I'm not like that around other types of men. But when I deal with these like manosphere, these come in and they're yelling about submission and this and that, it's kind of like, let me just, you know what I mean, the throat punch and get rid of you because I don't deal with, you know what I mean? I'm not dealing with it.
I get that. And that's like I said, a head to head, that's a very masculine thing to do, right? Like if you look at like just the basic principle of just like masculine energy, right? The symbol is an arrow, right? It's forward moving, right? The symbol of femininity is the plus sign, right? They add, they grow. Okay, they grow in the body, they grow like they're the fertility, that whole thing, right? The man is forward moving, it's penetrative, right? They, you know, and so if you get with that in that same fashion, that's going to be masculine on masculine. Okay, now you think of it just like in an ideal sense, like a very feminine woman who can deal with that. How does she deal with it? She deals it with wit. You know what I'm saying? Like a woman who's too fine to even deal with that sort of stuff. And like, have you ever seen oh shit, what was that Marvel movie? The guy with the rings?
Thanos?
No, not those kind of rings. He had like big rings around his arms. It was these Chinese, like it's like martial arts magical. Come on, chat, gotta help
The
me out
chat will
here.
get it. The chat will get
Right.
it. Describe them. The chat will get it.
Yeah, it was a Marvel movie. And this guy, he had like these rings of power like around his arms, and he was able to like kick the shit out of like everybody. And he grew this giant empire and all this stuff. And he was on this constant seek for power, right? And there was this mythological land where these like secret martial arts were taught that he really, really wanted to learn. And it was like, I think there was also like a map to like get to his dead wife, or like and he was gonna like learn this stuff to resurrect his dead wife by like breaking through a portal or whatever. And he gets to the barrier of this, like the gate basically of this land, and this beautiful woman's there, and she's like, "You're not supposed to be here." And this is like a dude who has just like trounced armies like by himself. You know what I mean? World power, massive domination throughout the world. And here's a soft, beautiful woman saying, you can't be here. And he comes at her with force. Okay. And she just like very gracefully just swims around and throws him sailing through the trees. Right. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, I have taken down like 40 men on my own at the same time. And here's this little woman, and just so gracefully and like smiling at me while she's countering all of my moves, right? With like extreme grace and poise. And like, to my best efforts, I cannot even get like close to hitting her. And
Is it Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
Yes. Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. Watch that. And the scene where he's trying to beat her, and she just does it. She just lays him to the ground, okay, with just poise and grace and charm, right? Doesn't even break a sweat, you know? That's what I would think a very feminine woman would deal with conflict. They don't deal with it head on, right? Use their wit, their charm, their style, their class, their grace to turn the situation around with like verbal judo, right? Make them look like fools, turn their whole situation inside out, and they're just left floundering, right? And going, wait a second. And they have them questioning, like, what the fuck just happened? Right?
That's amazing, because I only feel that way in a strange way. I only feel that way or use those tools, and weirdly, like what I feel like when I'm with a man of, I don't know, of some sort of like stature or wit or intelligence, or kind of like my equal, kind of like my tribe or my vibe. When I deal with the dudes that pretend and cosplay masculinity, I just want to destroy them.
Like, okay. I mean, you don't have to, because it's like life will do it for them, right?
I lose interest in them. I lose complete interest in them, and it starts sexually first. I don't want to have sex with them.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's your body telling you, right? Like, this person is unfit, right? For giving my body to. Yeah, I totally get that. But some of them are really good at mimicking.
Yes.
And that's part of the problem with social media is they get a lot of visual cues, and they're like, all right, I can start copying a lot of moves. I can start copying, some verbal game. I can start copying a look. I can start copying an attitude, because there's so many visual references. And then they can sort of like compile their own sort of cosplay, and they might be able to get away with it for a while. But eventually the costume falls off.
I'm gonna tell you the quick trick is because a lot of them are able to pull it off a lot easier around women. But when I watch their change and their shift when they get around other men that are masculine or are dominant, that's when I see it in an instant. I'm like, oh, this is a whole nother person. Oh, what is that? Oh, wow. Like, it's that's like the quickest sure way that I've been able to filter them out if they're doing the cosplay thing.
Yeah. It's a learned thing, right? It's because I think it's like part of a survival mechanism to try to copy just so you can survive, right? Just so you can get ahead, But I've not seen that firsthand. Like, just all the men that I deal with, they're just straight up men, very solid on the ground. So I don't I don't really see that sort of thing happening. But I've heard about it enough for sure.
We see it for sure. Like
yeah, definitely women will see it a lot more.
Yeah,
than a
it's
guy
like,
would.
well, I thought you were like a tough guy, and then this guy walked in, and you like shrunk.
Right.
Yeah.
You were tough for like 3 hours.
Because as a guy, either you're one of them or you're not one of them. If you're not one of them, you'll never see it because you don't hang out with losers. Right. So it's like, as a guy, you're really not going to see it. Right. But women, you'll see it because you get exposed to all different types of guys. Right.
All the time.
Yep. And then you go, you're in this box, you're in that box, you're in that box, you're in that box. But when you come with a man, he doesn't fit into a box. You're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
He's not in that box.
What is this?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get in the box. You don't fit in my box.
You don't fit in my box.
Get in there. Damn it. Chat. What are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in masculinity? And don't lie. And also, if you have a question for any of the ladies up here or Mr. Justin, throw it in the chat. And if you want to come up on the panel, feel free. If you have extra pointers or whatever, or what you've learned, don't get scared. Don't get scared because Mr. Justin is here. I know it's intimidating. Don't get scared. Miss, who said this? I don't know about this.
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's a joking, silly question. I mean, there's no real measurement.
Yeah, we're just playing.
We're just playing around.
Yeah. So don't get panicky, y'all. Kennedy said you gotta fuck they mind, body, and soul and be player about it.
Be a player. Yeah, you gotta be P about it. It's so funny.
You got to be a player so the ladies can feel what you're doing.
That sounds like an album intro or album interlude or something like that from the 90s.
But Tennessee Williams has a very good point in the sense that I mean, you don't really even need to. It's funny. If you know how to fuck a woman's mind, you don't actually really need to be that great in bed. Because it all starts in the mind, right? But guys, like, they kind of flip it. They put a lot of like attention on being really good in bed. But the thing is that's not super lasting, right? And but mental fucking is very, very lasting, right? You get in there and you can start reframing the way she sees herself. You can start reframing the way she sees the world, right? The way she sees relationships. You can start restructuring almost all of that shit, right? And still just be average in bed, right? It's like the mind is really where it's at. Like a woman's mind, that is her real pussy. That's the real one.
Yes, right? That is so true. Right. Like you don't have to be
a really great lay. You can have a really great lay, but then that fades, right? If he's not getting you up here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. It'll stay with you for a while, depending on how good it is. It'll stay with you for a little while, but eventually it'll fade. But the guy who's like fucking your brain, it's hard to shake him. It really is hard to shake him. You know,
now, I know everybody probably perked up when they heard that. What does that look and sound like? Because it sounds simple. And, you know, the ladies, we've experienced it. I'm sure you've done it, Justin. But how does a man fuck a woman's mind if they're trying to perfect their stroke game?
Yeah. Well, it really you can't have any doubt. You can't have zero doubt in yourself. Zero. Okay. So that's one. A high level of self-belief, not necessarily having to be narcissistic, but you have to have a very high level of self-belief in who you are, right? So you have to have a great sense of identity of who you are, what you are. Another great, like a key aspect is you can't have any fear of losing her. Zero. I'm talking zero fear in losing her, right? If she goes, she goes. That's it. Plain and simple. If she's gone, she's gone. You can't have a shred of that. So not a shred of doubt, not a shred of fear, right? You also can't have any fear of cutting her off, either in like the small hatchet way, like I explained before, like with checking certain behaviors, checking certain like verbal speech patterns, checking language, checking choices, checking any of that stuff. No fear in checking that. No fear in using the axe to cut the relationship off whenever there's high level of disrespect. just no fear whatsoever, zero.
Interesting.
And so that has to be the basis, okay? And then you have to have the reason why you're moving the way you're moving, right? Which means you have to stand on a set of principles. You have to stand on a set of codes. You have to stand on a set of rules, because if you don't have rules, what the fuck are you enforcing, right? Okay? You can't just enforce, because if you're just enforcing, you're enforcing based on your feelings, and that's not a good way to guide things, right? The woman's already emotional. You don't have that luxury, right?
No, thank you. Can you repeat that again?
So, right, yes, guys don't have the luxury of being emotional, right? So after that, then you can start, then you have a structure by which to start fucking her mind, right? And that's when your guidance starts conflicting with her conditioning, right? The conditioning of when she was growing up, the conditioning of society, conditioning of culture, conditioning of media, right? All this conditioning, and she starts questioning these things, right? Because you're getting in there at the same time that is there, right? And then over time, just through small adjustments, small incremental adjustments of coming onto your program, building that trust, while still, I mean, it helps to be having good sex, but it's not necessary. This can be done without even touching someone.
No,
right?
it's true.
No, it is, because I know doms who have multiple subs that they've never met in person. It's all done online.
I can see
Holy
that.
shit.
Yep. And
As a Sapio, I can see that.
right.
I can
And
see that.
this one guy, he's a master of coming on command.
Oh,
right?
well, hold on now.
And he can, without meeting the woman, meet with them for like 15 minutes. Okay. And then after that, he's conditioned her to the point where he can just tell her a trigger word, and boom, she has an orgasm. And this is
I need a real drink.
I
met one of his submissives, and it's no joke. Absolutely no joke. Right.
Well,
like I'm telling you guys, there is a whole world of women that exists that you never knew existed. A whole world, right? And the women themselves don't even realize, because they're only limited by your own set of knowledge. So if you only fucked regular guys, right, who only gave you regular sex, or maybe like in varying degrees, maybe some a little bit better than others, some are worse than others, whatever, but it's all within this region of average normal, you know, then your experience of that is limited. So if you ever come across a real motherfucker that you're like, oh shit, I can't put this experience of myself in any kind of box, and it came through that guy.
Yep.
Right?
Get in my box. You have to be in one of my boxes.
Right.
He doesn't fit in the box.
But it's tough. See, like all that structure shit that I was talking about, like of how to start fucking her mind. You can't have that as a guy if you're driven by pleasure.
And most men are driven by pleasure. They just want to hit and smash, and they want to see how she feels inside.
Yep. If you just want to hit, you just want those sweet walls. That's it. You're done, because you're only limited. You're limited by that experience. You're limited by that drive, by that impulse to satisfy those urges.
Short-minded.
So you can't ever go beyond that, because it's a limiting wall, because it's very like temporary, right? You go for it, you get it, and it's released, and kind of like cocaine. You know what I mean? It's not a very long acting drug, so it's sort of like coke. And then you want to go for another. You want to go for another bump. You want to go for another bump to try to keep chasing that high, right? But if you go for the long game, put the seeking pleasure on the back end, but not off the stove, just on the back burner. Okay. I'm not saying men shouldn't enjoy sex. Like, sex is wonderful, but you're not driven by it. None of your choices have anything to do with sex.
Right.
None of your choices have to do with getting into her brain. And then from there, that's when you can start then the pleasure starts shifting, when you're like, holy shit, like she's sneaking off into her work bathroom to masturbate for you. Right. And recording it and like asking permission at work. Can I please, because you've been like percolating her brain like all morning, right? And she's like, please, can I go into the bathroom and masturbate? I need to come while you're at work, right? And you're like, fine.
This just reminds me of a relationship I had, and I think that he thought our relationship, I mean, he thought our connection was more than it was because the sex was good and it was a constant, right? The sex was good and it was a constant. But beyond the sex, like you said, and it wasn't, the best sex I've ever had, but it was a constant. It was loving. It was good. It was all the time. It was all the time. It was all the time. And then you're right, it grew thin, even though the sex was very comforting, it grew thin because he didn't have my mind at all. I was like, all right, dude, you're soft, you're not a leader. You introduced me to other leaders, like we watch videos and documentaries and you admire other leaders, but you're a follower. So the sex, after a while, it was like, okay, now what, right? Like you said, after a while, it's like, Dark Lake, I see you backstage. Send me a super chat and you can come up. I want to get into.
I love that. I feel like if you lose my mind, you definitely lose me. I'm going to lose interest. As I'm listening to him talk.
What's up? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to say what's up to my man Thor. He's in the chat. This guy.
Oh, Thor's awesome. In the chat. Are you? I know Thor. Are you coming up, Thor? Are you coming up, sir?
I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Okay.
The dude is fucking.
I'm familiar with Thor. I dropped the link for if anybody wants to come up. I do want to read this super chat. What's up, Big Elvis the Chef Rosenberg? Sir, good to see you on this Freaky Friday. Thank you for the super chat, Don Levon. Don Levon says this right here. So I guess I'm doomed. Don Levon says, where are you, darling? Okay. He says, the more feminine you are, the more of a masculine man you will attract, right? And Mr. Justin, you touched on that as well. Mm-hmm. Some people insist that I'm feminine. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't.
Well, but here's
I guess it depends who I'm around. I don't know.
It's a funny trick, right? Because I think that it's also important to be what you are, right? There's a thing that goes around like with men's circles, like, oh, you have to be this dominant masculine man. No, you don't. The world's not built that way, right? We like life is all of nature, everything. There are tiers of hierarchy, and they all need each other. Right?
Yes.
Like the apex predators, they need all the other animals involved in nature in order to survive. Right? And then the smallest animals, they need all the bigger ones. Like it's all a working system. Okay. You don't have to be that way. Right? What's important is actually figuring out what you are and really truly identifying with that, and being okay with it. Right? Because society will tell you have to be like X. Right?
Yes.
And if you're okay with your own identity, if you're like, yes, this is actually how I'm very comfortable, okay, then you also must be okay with what comes on the other side of that, okay? So a more submissive guy, and if they're truly like this, like would I ever tell a submissive man that he needs to be more dominant? No, if that's his true identity, that's how he really is, that's how he moves, is that how his psychology is wired, it's going to be more conducive for him to get with someone who's a dominant woman who enjoys being in that position and likes that sort of dynamic.
I know a couple like that. And
that reminds me of George Cook.
I know.
I wish he was here tonight.
I know people who are like this, and they have an extremely harmonious relationship. It's because they're operating within their identity and they're not trying to be something else.
Yeah.
And that's what causes a lot of internal strain and anxiety when you're trying to be something you're not. Right. And it's like, you don't have to fit these molds. So that's another thing with like thinking for yourself, getting out of this, sort of like communal tribalistic sort of thinking where there's like this like group think. You have to get away from that and start thinking on your own. Right. And then once you hone in on that, you start attracting the people that get you. You know what I'm saying? And you can see this at like, really, you can see this a lot if you go to like sex parties, you go to like BDSM dungeons, anything along those lines where these archetypes almost are very blatant, right? and people openly talk about this stuff, like, oh, well, what are you like? What are you into? What do you like? What do you identify as? People are really super open, right? And then so it's like easy. It's like, oh, what kind of puzzle shape do you have? Right? Let me see. And sometimes they link up really well. And it's like, I think it's just really important that people really identify exactly what they are, but it takes time and it takes the ability to just shut out the outside noises. Get off of freaking YouTube and having guys tell you what you should be, right? And start listening to yourself, listening to your own instincts, and really figure out what the heck you want, right? If you're like really into dominant, strong women, fucking go for that. Don't shame yourself. Don't feel guilty about it. Like some guys, they love that. They love this vision of like this badass, sexy woman, right? And there's varying degrees of that. That can go all the way to the point of them being like a slave, right? And being a slave. And like a slave position within the BDSM world is really respected because it's fucking difficult to be a slave. It's incredibly hard, right? And just as it is hard to be a master, right? And then, you know, it doesn't have to go to that extreme, but I'm just saying, like, it can't, right? There's a whole range. But if you're stuck looking at manufactured archetypes in media and on YouTube, you're never going to be able to think for yourself, right? And be okay with that. It's really important.
Again, I hate referring to the manosphere and like the Andrew Tates and all of that, but the more we speak is like the more they become exhibit A. I said over and over again, people tried to shove down my throat, pause, that Andrew Tate was an alpha and he was masculine, he was charismatic. And I was like, no, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. Like I would have arguments with these men. I'm like, that is what you see, but it looks like from a woman's point of view, it looked like alpha cosplay to me. But you can't listen. It's like pulling teeth trying to get men to see that. I'm like, this is not don't you see what he's doing? And they would just fight me tooth and nail on that subject. So I was like, all right, fine, think what you want. He's charismatic, he can get the panties, whatever, great, go.
But I do always say it's more about them than Tate.
Yeah, but you see that the problem is that just in paying attention, you're not thinking for yourself. Right. That it's like, okay, if that's how he wants to be, who gives a shit? I don't care. The thing is, though, is that guys who are largely followers, right? The bulk of guys on the bell curve, okay, they're looking for something to follow because they largely do not think for themselves. So they're looking for a one size fits all archetype to try to emulate because they can't do them, right? No one really taught them how to think for themselves, right? And like largely with my coaching, I go all the way back to the beginning to figuring out how they solve problems. I want to see how they think, right? So
that's a great
exercises and certain little like worksheets and exercises that I bring them through to try to help them reveal to themselves how they problem solve, because that really shows you how you can think if you can think on your own, right?
That's a great date question.
No, you shouldn't be asking any questions on dates.
No? Teach us, Mr. Justin. Really quickly, Big Elvis says only a true beta in his feminine would think that between his legs has the ability to control one's mind. And also this right here is a great question by Kasim. He says, you definitely have to be consistent in stimulating her mind. What do you say to the men? Because men are, everybody puts their best foot forward and now he has the tools. So he's going to do this dominance thing, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 months later, he's on the couch with his hand in his pants watching the game. So how does a man stay consistent with stimulating a woman's mind? And is it a lifetime thing? Because I see a lot of people get complacent and comfortable in relationships and women get bored. We get bored.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a tennis match. And I would also say you have to enjoy it. Right. So there's some part of you that has to enjoy stroking someone's mind, right? Like that has to bring some sort of enjoyment for you. If it doesn't, then you're really not going to be able to maintain someone's mind. It's just that simple, right? But it's a skill like any other. Like it's not like something you're born with, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So you can learn to do these things and you can learn to enjoy it, right? Like I've taught people how to draw, right? I've been an illustrator for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And I've taken people who have no art skill whatsoever and taught them how to draw. And most of them would eventually learn to enjoy it, right? It
Mhm.
stopped being a slog. It's gonna be a slog for a little while, right? And that's the
Mhm.
way it is for the majority of my clients. It's hard because they're stuck into this just lazy thinking, having a lazy mind, instead of getting excited about tinkering with watching someone else's mind and
Mhm.
figuring out how they move and then putting in your own sort of suggestions and implements to sort of wield things the way you want it to go, right? But again, and it
Mm.
starts with having a desire to do this and knowing what you want and saying, this is what I want in my relationship. And then you can reverse engineer it and go, okay, how do we get there now? Okay.
Mm.
How do I like, because she's not going to know all of your likes and dislikes. She's not going to have all the behavior traits that you would like to see, right? And so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, but that first then goes back to studying, is she able to be coachable, right?
Mhm.
Which on her end comes into trust, which comes back to your end and not having any self-doubt. So it's this weird tennis match that goes along. But to what you're saying about the keeping it up,
Mhm.
once that foundation is built up, there's a tennis match that goes on, right? So she makes herself available sometimes to take those suggestions, to take being brought down a certain pathway mentally, right? And sometimes then you have to like say, pick up the ball and hit it back to me now, right? And then she does what she's supposed to do. But so it's like it's not the same thing all the time. There's always this
Thank you.
interesting back and forth, right?
Right, right.
But yeah,
Mm.
she's gonna play along if she wants to play along. She can't just sit back and be like, well, he's just not entertaining me anymore, right? Like a little
Ah.
princess. Okay. It's like
Ah.
because you can bring out the thing just by little moves, right? Little tiny moves, and women are largely very clever, right?
Mhm.
Little moves to like make him respond in a certain way. And depending on his situation, if he's like, oh, I see what she's doing, I'm going to do the opposite of what she's looking for, right?
Mhm.
Which changes the friction, right?
Mhm.
Or I feel like I want to play along, right?
Mhm.
So now
Mhm.
which is basically letting her lead, right? Just for that moment, letting her lead the situation, and
Mhm.
she does the first volley, and then you can take it to where she wants it to go, and then it becomes pleasurable for everybody, and so on and so forth. That happens
Mhm.
a
Well,
lot with brats.
but that's funny because I'm listening, and my parents have been married forever, and my dad, he's very masculine, very and all of that stuff, very alpha, whatever they want to use these days. Um, but he also plays that game with my mom,
Mhm.
right? And let her get her whatever off. And he's like, okay, 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 that's enough. Now you got enough, and boom, boom, boom. And it's like you see her just kind of fall into like this. It's such a interesting song and dance to watch how they do it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's probably the key of why they've been married for so long,
Sure.
because they got a good song and dance going on. It's
Yeah.
very
And
interesting.
it goes up and down too. Like sometimes, like to the dance analogy, it's like, sometimes it'll be a relaxing waltz, and then other times, you're doing the foxtrot or you're breakdancing, and it goes up and down, right? So you have to be, it's like, one of the guys that I look up to, he says, like good game is really about being light on your toes, right? And being able to adjust and position yourself in different ways. Like if anyone's ever like studied Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that's like kind of the mindset that you have to have. You have to have a very like open mind to whatever kind of comes your way, and then you can adjust and do counters properly to make it go where you want it to go. Because really, you're in the mindset of like, you are submitting. I'm going to choke you out. I'm going to make you tap. I'm going to lock out a joint, something. But one way or another, you're tapping out, right? But beyond that, you don't know what's going to happen between start and tap out, right? You just know that's the way it's going to end. And so So how that happens, you have no idea because you don't know what's on their mind. You don't know what moves they're going to do. And so you're going to just have to be fluid and counter things as they come along. Right. And it's like, if you can kind of like own her in that way, right? Flipping her script, changing her moods, using your wit to outsmart her in whatever. Sometimes even with, depending on your situation, degrading her, right? Because she wants to feel degraded, right? But those are all specifics to the type of dynamic you have. But I'm just saying there's a lot of ways to go from start to finish.
Yeah, and we have to stress it depends on your dynamic. Don't meet a woman and be an asshole just to be an asshole. And it's like this will get her because it won't.
Because somebody will take that one.
No.
Yeah, and they'll run with it.
Yeah, don't run with it. Really, yeah, that comes from someone who actually wants. Like I was talking about the puzzle pieces, right?
Yes.
There are some women who absolutely love degradation.
Yes,
and there are men who love degradation as well.
Oh, I've had many of them here. So thank you, Don Levon, for the super chat. Don Levon says, hit the like button. Mr. Justin is dropping gems. Good night. I'm sure Don is going to be a little hole somewhere. That's what he does on the weekend. Right. I want to bring up Dark Lake. Some of you may remember Dark Lake. He's the one that thinks that women should be attacked more online. Let's see what he has to share tonight. Sir?
Oh, he's back. Dark Lake.
Yeah, he can't stay away. That's how the block is.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Jen. And I would just like to clarify something. I, in no way, form, or fashion meant that any harm should come to women. What I meant was that I just think women's opinions should be challenged online, but I was emotional in the moment and I worded that just in a very immature way at the time. Okay. But that's what I meant. Just that a woman's opinions when she projects them online should be challenged more. That's what I actually meant. And also, Jen.
Is that an apology? Is that an apology?
It's an apology. It's an apology for the way that I projected that thought. Okay. I projected it wrong, but I still meant what I said. Yeah. The only reason why I sent you just $10 wasn't because I was like, oh, that's all she deserves. I was sending that because it says buy me a smoothie on there. So that's what I was doing.
No, I didn't complain about it, but I just knew that you couldn't come up here without paying because you don't know how to behave. So you have to pay. So here we are. Continue.
Sir, may I ask you a question? Sorry, what's your name, sir?
My name is Lake.
Lake.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you care about the opinions of women?
I don't.
Well, you just said that their opinions have to be challenged. So in order to challenge something, it has to be on your radar.
No. It's not about It's not about caring about the opinions of women. It's about hearing your fellow human beings' thought process, right? And not being afraid to challenge that thought process if it's opposite of what you think, right? Or to just hear them out to cross-reference and gain an understanding. But I have an opinion that a lot of men in society, they won't do that pertaining to what society is telling them to do. I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but the atmosphere in society is, if you disagree with a woman and you voice that opinion, you're a misogynist, you're a toxic masculinity. So a lot of men won't even do it. They won't even try in fear of looking that way, even if they genuinely just disagree with what the woman is saying. So that's I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I don't want to be up here that long. But do you understand what I just said?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Okay,
you're going to be spinning your wheels in the mud for a long time, man. Let me tell you something. The only woman's opinion that matters is the woman who's in front of you that has submitted to your leadership, that you're leading well, and that she sees as her leader. That is the only woman whose opinion matters.
There's a lot of truth to what you just said. However,
white noise.
Well, not really, because
it is
within society. There are philosophers. There are people who specialize in economics. And when you have the major demographic like women in the workforce today and basically creating their own stations in life, they can project ideals that affect the future generations. And if you're a person who thinks on a higher level, or attempt something on a higher level, if you love philosophy, if you love economics or whatever, right? If you like to just debate, if you're one of those type of people, right? There's going to be ideas circulating within society that you might disagree with. And just because you're a man and she's a woman, I don't think you should not be afraid to do whatever you just suggested, and I guess fight in the mud or whatever you said.
No, I said you're going to spin your wheels in the mud.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to spin your wheels in the mud.
The only time that it would make sense to do that is if you are a philosopher, like in the sense that you have gone to school for it, you've got a like a PhD or an undergraduate or a doctorate in philosophy. Like, this is what you do, and it's for a greater purpose. Like, you're working on a paper, you're writing a book, it's towards a goal. I would say largely the guys who are out here arguing with women senselessly on the internet about their opinions are not doing anything remotely close to that. Not even fucking close.
You are attributing what they are doing online. You are sort of comparing that to the day of old. Okay, nobody is influenced by theses anymore. No one is influenced by a thesis. People, and they should be, but no one is influenced by novels that they should have read, right? People are looking at their phones, they're looking at social media, right? So when people are speaking online, that's what people are influenced by. Don't blame the men for using those same tools to project their ideals, right? To get other people listening to it. You can disagree with it. I disagree with it as well. People should be reading more. I've always thought that people should, not have such short attention spans where everything is just like a TikTok or Instagram video that they're watching, right? But we're not living in that day and time anymore. So if someone has a philosophical way of thinking, they might use TikTok. And just because they don't have a degree in philosophy, don't mean that their opinions are any less valuable. But this is what I wanted to say, man, and because I didn't want to stay long. And Jen, again, thank you for letting me on the show. Right, I just wanted to say one thing to you, sir, and then one thing to Lily. It's Lily, right? That's your name,
Lily.
Yes,
Lily. Okay, Lily. Okay. And what was your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Justin.
Okay. Justin. Earlier in the show, there were a lot of things that you said to Jen that I do agree with, pertaining to submission and how men actually are looking for cooperation. I thought that was a great point that you made there, that I believe some people in general just don't realize, right? But I'm sorry?
I said most. Okay.
So, but one thing I'm not going to say you're wrong about, but I just felt like it was kind of unhealthy. It's just my opinion, so you can tell me what you think. When you were, because it sounded like you were projecting a narrative that women who do have those masculine traits, it seemed like you were projecting a narrative that those types of women should only pursue like a fetish instead of a relationship. And I got nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with fetishes or BDSM or anything like that.
Do you know what a fetish is? Please define it.
A particular niche of a sexual like interaction that people indulge in.
No, you're wrong.
That's what it is. That's what it is, but it's not the exact. It's not the exact verbiage of the definition. I understand.
You're completely using.
Okay, correct me then. Correct me. Tell me what it is.
It's irrelevant to what I know what you're saying. So just you could say like kink instead. And I know the direct. It doesn't matter for me to show you the definition for your line of thinking to go along the way you're going. I understand what you're saying. Like you're just saying, like putting like say like a BDSM lifestyle versus. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of it's wrong. I'm not saying any of it's wrong. What I'm saying is that maybe I should just ask you, okay, instead of just making a presumption. So were you saying that women who have more masculine traits it's better for them to pursue the kink rather than the relationship?
No. I suggested that if you are a masculine woman, right? If someone is a masculine woman, they have a choice, right? If they want a masculine dominant man, depending on the, I guess, so-called level of, if it could be quantified, the level of that woman's masculinity, it's going to require a man who is even a greater force than she is, right? Because that's how hierarchy works. If she's not, all right, She's also going to, the other choice is if she's not interested in that, because it could be, considered, somewhat unpleasant to deal with a man who's like that. The other choice is to go with a guy who's a bit softer, who will be attracted towards women who are more masculine. And so there's going to have to be an acceptance to that. Now, does that mean that he's going to be a submissive in the BDSM world? No, definitely not. It's just going to mean that it's a man who is more serving. He's going to be more supplicants to her.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you for breaking it down that way, because it sounded like you were saying that, like, for instance, Jen is an 8, and I think that you were saying she was an 8 because, I guess, due to your perspective, she has more masculine tendencies. Maybe,
yes.
Maybe that's why you were calling her an 8. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounded like, and I was wrong based upon what you just explained, but it sounded like earlier that you were saying because she's an 8, she should go for more of this sort of, this BDSM kink type of lifestyle, rather than actually trying to find a man to be in a relationship with. That's what it sounded like.
No, that's not what I said. I said they should have to just understand that it's going to attract that how she is, or any woman who is just, very masculine, not necessarily pointing out Jen here, but any woman who has masculine traits is going to attract more feminine men. That's just the way of nature. It's yin yang. That's just how things are. It's not like, very dominant men largely will be like, hey, I like dominant women, right? That's two.
And that's been my true. Together. Yeah, that's been tangibly my experience.
Right. So. It's going to be difficult to have a relationship like that where each person is vying for power, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, that's I agree with that.
She should. I'm just saying, understands that this is the reality of it.
Okay, great. And you made that clear, and it wasn't so clear earlier. So thank you so much for clearing that up, and I appreciate that. Nice talking to you. It's Lily, right? Lily. Okay. And I'm gonna end with this. I don't know you personally. This is I think the third time I've ever seen you in the box, and you see me in this box, right? I've never met you personally or anything. So please don't take what I'm gonna say personally. But sometimes, I wonder why Black women are not in my mind whatsoever when it comes to my future plans, my career, and everything I want to do. There was a white man on here who suggested slave play, and you were not disgusted by it.
Because she understands what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do
with
race whatsoever.
Lily, you were not disgusted by what he said when he suggested slave play. And I was...
So... I muted your mic.
Let her go, because I'm ready. I'm ready. Let her go. Please
no, wait. I just want to say one thing, because before the conversation devolves, because it always does when he's here, but he paid his $10 pass, right? Okay. So before the conversation devolves, I did want to try to ask him, right? Because I'm curious about men that live this lifestyle, and he kind of glossed over it. And I agree with whatchamacallit, who was it that said the word salad? I agree with Louis Conyer 110%. It's a word salad. He's like 10 different directions. I don't even know how Justin got a word in or a question. But I am really curious, since you're up here. You are. I'm curious, because we kind of glossed it over, is why do you care so much about what women are saying online, where you feel they constantly have to be challenged? Don't you feel that that's a feminine trait, a man being overly concerned with what groups of women are talking about? Serious question. I want to know if you can answer that without the word salad. Why are you, a man, overly concerned and seething and scrolling YouTube to see what groups of women are saying about men? Do you really feel threatened by them? Because you went on to say these women are painting narratives in the society, and one day you're going to...
There's an economic blowback. He mentioned something along those lines.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
So do you feel, okay, fine. So do you feel like one day these women who are yapping on YouTube about men are going to be in the workforce, and then you're going to try to get a job, and those women heard things on YouTube that's going to stop you from getting a job?
No, not at all.
Okay, so what's your concern? Like, why do you care that groups of women are venting about men? Like, why do you care as a man? What does it do to you? How does it affect you?
Well, see, that's the thing. See, I have an opinion that men actually care about a multitude of people, and not all, but a lot of women only care about themselves. The thing is, Jen, is that I look at things like, I think there is a correlation between things, right? When I look at the stats and I say, and I see that something like, oh man, I think it was a little under 20%. I could be wrong about this, but I think the last time I read it, it was like a little over 20% of women in America are on some form of psychotropic medication, right? And I think that there is a correlation there. I'm not trying to down talk women or anything. I'm not trying to make fun of the fact that someone's on medication. That's not what I'm doing. But I think there's a lot of things that women are going through today that is directly linked to society trying to push them away from family values. And it just so happens that a lot of women project these narratives and these opinions on shows and just in music and whatever that's anti-family, anti-men. And that's what I mean. I feel like I'm not trying to do it for myself, or I don't care about what they're saying for myself. I care about what they're saying because it's like it's horrible shit happening in society today when it comes to women. And I feel like these unchallenged ideals that women believe in is a part of it. I'm not saying I'm right about that. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion and that's how I feel. And that's why I said earlier that I think women's, opinions, if you disagree, should be challenged. I mean,
but just for clarity, like you get into like arguments online, either like in comments, like on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, like you go like get into like back and forths with women.
No, not just women. It's not just about women. It's about anything.
Can you answer the question? I'm trying to get some clarity.
Yeah, please. I debate people on YouTube. Yes,
on YouTube in the chat section.
No, I show my
camera. Okay, so I
show my face.
Right, so you get on panels and you debate women on YouTube.
I also talk to I talk to women in person. I talk to men in person.
I'm trying to get clarity, sir. Can you?
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to clarify for you. I talk to people in person and online about these same things.
I didn't ask that. I'm trying to get some clarity around my specific question. So I'm just trying to say, like, if you're in the chat or if you're actually on panels, like, what are you doing? And you said you're on panels, speaking with other women. In these talking about like larger discussions, like women that are not your woman, but anyways, you said it's for the sake of not you, it's for the sake of what, like society and other men. It's like for a greater cause you're like fighting for.
So I know sometimes this can be annoying, but can I answer that question with a question?
No,
I can't. Okay, that's why I asked. That's why I asked, because I know it can be annoying sometimes.
No, a man answers a question directly as he's been asked.
A man answers the question how he wants to ask it or answer it. Okay. No. A man doesn't allow another man to tell him how to answer a fucking question. Just know that.
No, it's real. There's a question. And there's an answer.
So if I wanted, I understand that it can be irritating to hear people do that, which is why I provided the caveat and said, "Can I do it?" But since I know you're one of the people who are irritated by that, I won't do it. Okay, but don't tell me. But at the same time, don't tell me how to answer a question. That's what you won't do.
Are you buying time so you don't have to answer the question? Are we going to get an answer? Okay.
Do you get on panels for the sake of a larger cause? Is that what you're saying? Like, I'm looking for clarity.
Absolutely. What I do is there might be a show, right? There might be a show where, like, let's say 600 people are watching, or 1,800 people are watching, right? And there's like 3 people, not just women. It could be dudes or women, whatever. And they are projecting an idea through verbalizing their opinion that I may disagree with, right? Okay. And so the audience who's watching it, right? Sometimes they may disagree with what's being heard too, but they're afraid to show their face and come up on the show. Right, because you get roasted in the chat, man. Like people are.
Right, let me ask one other question.
So I'll just answer that. So I provide my perspective online so that other people can view and get a different perspective. Even if I'm wrong, it's a different perspective, and that's what I think is important in society.
How long have you been doing this?
Doing what?
debating people on YouTube.
Oh my God.
I'm going somewhere with this.
How long have I been doing this?
Yeah.
I would say probably like in between me doing my classes and working and
No, that's not the
other stuff
question
I
asked.
do. I would say about, it's been like, I would say maybe a year and 2 months that I will call into a show every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
During that approximate year, have you have any evidence of changing people's lives?
Specifically through YouTube? Specifically through YouTube or social media?
We can start there. Let's start there.
That is the context of this part of the conversation. Yes. Through your year of being on YouTube, have you had any evidence of changing people's lives?
Well, I will tell you this. I have, through YouTube specifically, I have established relationships with people. And there are some people who have reached out to me from me meeting them on YouTube, where it's like they will confide in me, like, you know what, I was thinking about ending it.
That was a yes or no question.
Well, the thing about it is, but wait a minute. Well, wait a minute, Lily. The thing is that when it comes to the subject matter of changing one's life, I think it's kind of subjective. I don't know what that means exactly. What do you mean by changing one's life?
Meaning, okay, what I'm getting at, do you have...
Like, say if they didn't take a shower once a week, they took one shower a week, that's a change. I mean, come on, make it simple. Like, just a yes or no.
Right. What I'm asking is, are your efforts having any kind of effect? Do you have
yes, people,
your efforts, do you have evidence that your efforts are having any kind of effect?
Just pertaining to what people tell me when they, because I put my Instagram tag on my, wait, listen. I put my Instagram tag on my name when I go on different shows.
You said you were trying to help society. You were trying to save society from the ideas that women have. At the end of the day, you're trying to save society from the ideas women have. So how have you affected society?
No.
Have you improved society from the ideas that these crazed women who are on medication, according to you, on YouTube, like, have you saved society from these women who are on medication venting about men?
I get emails and I get DMs and I get messages from women who tell me that, like, I have evidence of this, right? Who tell me that what I say on shows, they really like. They agree that they wish more men would say what I say.
Okay, and so the answer is no. The short answer is no.
So a black man has to save the world to talk on a YouTube channel. But a white man can just speak what he wants to without having any goal behind it, and you just accept it.
You said you had a goal.
That's what you said your aims were.
I didn't say my aim was to save the world. I never said that.
You said society.
Not the world.
I didn't say to save society either. I didn't say any of that.
You said you want to challenge their opinions.
Yes.
In order to have an effect on society, because what they're doing is having an effect on society. So you want to challenge that, right? You had a greater goal in mind, right? And I'm saying, in your year of efforts, okay, what are you doing? What have you done?
I do a lot. of things.
You've done nothing.
No, you're not going to tell me that. I create relationships. I create relationships with people. What have you done other than go to sex parties, sir? What have you done?
I can introduce you to at least 25 men who have changed their lives. I've changed their marriages. I've changed their dating profiles. I've changed their dating experience. I've turned their wives into happy and submissive. This is real. I can introduce them to you right now.
And you presenting yourself on this show right now is letting more people know what your potential is and your perspective is, right?
Well,
is that what you do on YouTube?
I'm talking to him, Jen.
No, but I'm asking you a question. Is that what you do on YouTube? I'm just curious.
Like, I'm running a business. This is not
okay. Okay. And you believe that what you're saying and how you're presenting yourself will impact someone else's life, or have the potential to, once they seek you out and say, you know what, like you just told me, you can introduce me to 25 men. If I wanted to meet those 25 men, maybe I have a chance now if I reach out to you later and say, you know what, I was thinking about what you said. and I should meet those 25 men. But I would have never known that if you were on this show talking about it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
So
I
why
don't
is it
sit here
okay for you to?
advertising
So why is it okay
everything
for
you
you
do.
to present yourself and your perspective that way, but another person can't just because
Well,
he
you asked you to, and you refused to do
Well,
it.
I
refused to
can
do
answer
what?
that. No, I can answer that. I can answer that. I can answer that. I can answer that. The difference between Justin and you, right, is that women expect men to act like men, no different than men expect women to act like women. And I know you say you have an effect, and women are writing you how they loved your perspective. I'm gonna call cap, and I'm gonna say that's a lie, because women
Yeah, of course.
innately
Yeah.
let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, I know it's hard for you. Let me finish. Women innately like masculine men. I told you before, you are a very feminine man, and that is okay.
Yeah,
That is
being
okay.
argumentative
But
is
you
very
will not
that's it.
but you will not affect women the way women like to be affected. You can be sister girl. We can go shopping. We can get our hair done.
Yes,
We can get
yes,
manicures. Okay. We can do all of that. But I would never look to you for masculine energy. So I cannot believe that you go on panels screaming the way you do, being emotional the way you do, being combative, being argumentative, being emotional, and women are running to your email. I call cap on that.
Okay,
You are
you call cap.
lying,
There's no way.
sir.
You call
You're
cap on that. That's fine.
lying, sir.
You can
You
call
are
cap. That's fine.
lying.
Jen, you can call cap. That's fine.
Okay, you're
But you know what? I'm gonna do
lying.
something masculine. I'm gonna do something masculine, and then I'll
You,
bounce
Leave
with
an
you
it.
email.
couldn't do nothing masculine.
You're not
if
that.
you
Hey,
You're not
black
cut
tried.
women,
that
you
You're
should
not
do
that
way.
slay.
guy. You're
Okay,
not
so
that
here's what
guy.
Do
here's
slay,
what you
Playboy.
should do. So
Oh, yeah. He rage quit.
yeah, no, I
He rage,
dropped him.
oh, you dropped him. You
Yeah,
dropped him.
because
I
what
thought
he
rage
does
quit.
is no. The reason why I drop him is because he comes up, he does this, right? I don't know. I guess he pays $10 to. I don't know. It's like it's weird. Anyway, but he does this. Like he'll come up here and he'll go on other panels, and then he'll vent and rant. And then when he's not getting his way, like a child, he'll start cursing people out and throwing insults because he didn't get his way. And he's a great exhibit of most of the men that are online right now. He needs medication and needs therapy. He does not need YouTube.
No, I don't think medication is necessary, but
You don't think medication is necessary?
no. What I think is necessary is unplugging.
I know some things that we can.
No, I'm serious.
I'm not gonna say it on YouTube.
No, I think what's unnecessary is unplugging, right? Because all that stuff, right, stirs up, right? It's like putting your hand in the bottom of a pond and swirling it around, and all that mud just starts swirling up into the water. You got to let things settle down and calm down and let the sediment go back down, and then the water will become clear. But if you're on a daily basis going like this, getting into arguments, being combative, it puts you in that mind state of always being ready, right? Always being ready for that conflicting energy, right? What is man energy? It's like an oak tree. It's like the giant boulder. It's the mountain, right? It's just stable, unmoving. Nothing bothers a fucking mountain, right? One of the men that I look up to, he says, women aren't a fucking problem. He said, you know what a problem is? A meteor the size of the moon heading towards Earth. That's a fucking problem. Women are not a problem, right? And to men, women are not a problem. Why? What the heck is a woman going to do to a man? What's she going to do? Nothing.
Apparently ruin society, according to him, and not let him get hired somewhere.
Right, but I don't know how that panned out.
He don't either.
Way far out into wide things, but and that's okay. If that's what you're going to do, like I said, there's different parts of nature, right? There, he's needed. He's needed in society, right? For women to go to and get disappointed just so they can understand what it's like when they get with a man and go, oh shit, okay, so they can have this comparison of reality and go, wow, okay, now I know what steak feels like, and I've been having spam this whole time.
Wait a minute. So he's needed in society to show how bad it can be for women dating?
That's it's like it's certain things even in the animal species that I'm just like, why are they here? and people are like, we need them all for society. And I, one side of my brain understands that, but the other side of my brain don't understand why roaches are here. I'm just saying.
Hey, my girl, she just mentioned something. We are so far off topic. Have you tried fucking her into submission? So
Right.
I think we should just lay that thing to rest, whatever
Yes.
that dude was.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you right now, you're not gonna fuck a woman to submission by mimicking a woman. You won't.
So
A woman does not want to fuck a pussy that's tighter than hers.
At all.
No.
That'd be hell for me. So I do want to say this to TK. TK said, and then we can shift gears. TK said, Jen, let him rant. I need a good laugh. Take hits. This is how you blow up. Stop being so serious. Okay. I know how you blow up on YouTube. I don't do that on the block. And I understand that you guys find it very entertaining to see people argue and go back and forth and insult each other and curse. 50 million channels on YouTube. Go find another one. That's not what we do here at all. Okay. I gave him a shot. I told him he had to pay to get up here. He paid, and that's why I let him up here. But this ain't the channel, honey. Okay. I don't need to blow up. If I wanted to blow up, I can yell here and offer tits and ass and curse and all of that. I know how to blow up on YouTube. Okay. A dancing monkey can blow up on YouTube. It is not rocket science. All you have to do is be some ghetto ratchet, and I'd be blown up like this tomorrow. I know how to blow up on YouTube, TK. No gracias.
Yeah.
All right?
I mean, that's good strategy, but there's a cost. Right? There's a cost to every strategy you choose.
If you don't pay on the front end, you're going to pay on the back end, but the back end comes with interest.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
yes.
That's true.
So going back to the topic, have you tried fucking her into submission? We spoke a lot about the mentality of it, right? Like, okay, what you should talk to her about or whatever. But what about the actual act of sex? Because there is this thing that we call dickmatized, right?
Why don't you describe that?
Okay.
I've never been dickmatized, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Lily, should you start or should I start?
When they got you doing shit you would never thought you would do, right? Usually you in bed at 3 a.m., getting you some good beauty sleep. But for some reason on this night, you up making eggs, T-bone steak, cheese, eggs, and Welch's grape, okay? That's what that
Not the grape juice.
Oh, yes, the grape juice has got to be in
grape juice.
Okay? Right? Yeah, the good organic grape juice that you got from Whole Foods. Don't get it twisted now. It's got you doing some just like that. You used to have and dickmatized is not always a good thing either, because you used to have drive, and now, you don't have as much drive because that's all you're thinking about. Right?
Yes. Like it's really good, and you get chills when you reminisce about his stroke. Yeah. Like you get chills, like thinking about it, like you're like, oh my God, I need that, basically that dick. So you're dickmatized, and you just like, you're out with your girlfriends at the club and everybody's going home, and you're like, girl, can you drop me off at his house? You're like, what? I thought you were done with him. Yeah, I know, but I just want to see him tonight, and it's 2:00 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
That's dickmatized. So how do you think men can do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it pays to be good in bed. Like you said, stroke game, and
yes,
yeah, there is some good, there's some goodness about actual stroking, right? I'm talking like the in and out motion, okay? But actually for really really powerful physical sensations that feel amazing to a woman, it's actually a rocking motion, right? So it's like you're all the way in, all the way to the hilt, okay? And if I could maybe illustrate with my hands here, it's moving your body such that it makes your dick go like this, okay, instead of like this, okay? It's rocking it up, and so you move your body down, your dick goes up, right? Move your body up, dick goes down, and it creates this rocking, and if you're hitting the bottom, it does magical things, right? Because massages or I don't really know how to describe it because obviously like I don't have a vagina, but
Mhm.
I've noticed a great difference between that and then just the the pile driver stroking, right? I mean, there's a place for everything, of
Right.
course, but I'm just saying that rocking where it's like pelvis to pelvis, like just you're really not doing a whole lot, okay?
Mhm.
But to
Mhm.
her, it does a lot. Like it does way more than just the stroking, right? And then it is getting in her head, right? So
Mhm.
again, this
Mhm.
this requires confidence, requires believing yourself, not having any doubt, controlling your vocal tonality and things of that nature, but telling her what she's feeling, right? And
Mhm.
telling her to tell you things. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're instructing her during that time to tell you things, telling her, um, you know, uh, tell me to fuck you, right? Tell me to use your holes, right? And she's saying, use my holes, right? But getting in her, I mean, it sounds weird, like out of context, like
Mhm.
this, but
Mhm.
it's about sort of creating like a hypnotic state where you tell her,
Mhm.
say it again, say it again, say it again, and each time it goes like deeper and deeper and deeper mentally. Okay, now I feel weird mentioning some of these things, right? Like
Mhm.
getting in her head that way during sex because it can become very powerful. And if somebody's just this is not something you want to use on a one night stand, right? It can be somewhat damaging. So like if you don't intend on seeing this woman ever again, don't put in that much effort, right? Because you're going to get some crazed woman who's like, holy shit, I need to see you again. I need more of that experience of myself, right?
Right. Mhm.
And next thing you know, she's like hunting you down, leaving notes on your car, keying your car, right? And you don't want that. So if you're going to bring that A-level game, make sure it's somebody that you're interested in being with for longer periods of time, because if you do that you can go even deeper and even deeper, right? I've got plans for my girl, but it takes time and things get very deep,
Oh,
suggestions, anchors, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
time.
Hit the like for me, you guys. Hit the like for me because there are more people watching than hitting the likes. Gracias.
Yes,
Right.
please. It
It
doesn't take much. Just hit that little thumb up and you can be back to watching mindlessly.
it takes time. Women
Mhm.
have to be warmed up. That is super, super, super important. And I like that you put that in. I don't want to go over that with the minimum amount of concern because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't want to put in the time, but they want the outcome
Right.
of what someone who puts the time in, the time and the effort. Because
Mhm.
I think that's where a lot of men get tripped up at is they don't understand the importance of warming a woman up
Sure. Sure.
here
Like there's
first.
right. You can it's like if you starting off and you say, well, actually it can operate that way too, but typically speaking, if you're starting off making out and you say, tell me you're a dirty slut, right? That's not going to go over so well as compared to when she is extremely aroused and ready to just take on whatever you are producing. Then you say, tell me you're a dirty slut. She's like, I'm a dirty slut, right? If you do that while you're making out, like it's not fitting, right?
Mhm.
You have to ramp up, so there's actually like 5 stages, right? There's five
Oh,
stages to sexual response, right? There's the excitement slash anticipation, right? And then it goes to the ramp up, and then it goes to the plateau, the orgasm, and then the resolution, right? So women largely operate in the first two, right? They have excitement and ramp up, right? The more time you spend in the excitement or anticipation and the ramp up, the greater the orgasm.
okay.
Usually, right?
Mhm.
And in
Mhm.
some
No, yeah.
circumstances, just whatever, it can be like really explosive and fast and whatever. But like just typically speaking, women operate more on that anticipation and ramp up period. Then the plateau kind of like evens out, and then boom, there's like the orgasm, and then it kind of decreases and there's a resolution after that. But guys have a very short, typically, right? The first two, and they just have a very short ramp up period, and then they have orgasm. Like there's no plateau. So but the plateau is interesting, right? Because you can hold it, right? You can hold a certain level of arousal, and it gets a little tricky sometimes, because if you hold it too long, you lose it, right? And it drops off. You're like, fuck, like it didn't intend to do that, right? Actually, they made a mistake that with my girl, we were doing some orgasm control, right? And I'm teaching her to ask permission to come, right? Either like whether it's through masturbation or she's with me or what have you. And it was a situation where I was going down on her, and it occurred to me, I can't speak. So she just wanted, like, she's like, can I come? Can I come? And I was being greedy. I was being selfish, right? And I wanted to edge that plateau longer, right? To like make her crazy and then let her go, right? But I waited too long, and I also couldn't answer her very well, right? Because if you're doing clitoral stimulation, you have to be very consistent, right? You find your rhythm, you find your texture, you find your sweet spot, you find your pressure. You have to stay at that, right? And just be very, very solid. No switching it up, guys. So if you're going down on a girl, don't go crazy with all these different things and all this craziness. No frick ABCs and whatever Japanese kanji. It's really simple. Just keep your tongue motion simple, direct, not too hard, and a nice steady pace. Okay. Just like getting your dick sucked. You want it to be consistent, not all over the place. So I was being selfish, and I also couldn't answer her because I had my mouth full, and she got to that plateau, and then pop, it just dropped off. I like missed it. And she was really disappointed, right? Like, because her arousal levels were super high, right? And she was going to explode, and then it just dropped off. It was a ruined orgasm. And what's funny is that like there's actually a kink for people who they get off, I guess, mentally on the idea of having ruined orgasms, right? And a lot of guys, it's actually like spearheaded mostly by guys, but I don't think a lot of women are into that. But yeah, there's a large group of guys who are into having ruined orgasms.
Oh my God, that sounds terrible. It sounds like torture.
Where a guy can be brought up to the point of having an explosive orgasm. You miss that point. He can still come, but it's like down here, and it's not quite as explosive or enjoyable.
To Jen's point, is it torture behind it? Like, that?
Yeah. It's like a guy who likes to have that anguish and like that sense of like something being ruined. But anyways,
that would drive me crazy.
So I'm just saying, like, back onto the plateau, you can ruin things by sticking on that plateau for too long. So you gotta like increase your sensitivity and reading the person that you're with. Read your woman and read her arousal levels, and don't be too selfish if you're going to be denying orgasms, right? You got to read her, because truthfully, because this is new, this is what I should have done, and this is what anyone else could be doing if they're into like orgasm control, orgasm denial, things like that. Simply them asking is enough at the beginning, right? Just them asking, can I come, in the moment of about to having an orgasm, that is enough at the beginning. You don't have to like stave it off and try to get more control from the situation, make her ask again, and then wait and build up the anticipation and then say yes. You don't have to do that. Just say, can I come? Yes. All right, go. Boom. Like that starts the steps in the right direction. And then over time, right, of constantly practicing this, then you can stave her off and edge her more and edge her more and edge her more, and then it becomes an even more enjoyable situation.
TK said something interesting. I love to I love to read and hear, and I guess there's no right or wrong depending on what the chick is into. Yeah. But it's such a game. Every man has his game, right? His strategy. TK saying, I make love to hard, tough girls and go savage on nice, quiet, shy girls.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's
that to me sounds like the Madonna whore complex at work. right? Because there are no this girl and that girl. There's at their core, it's just women, right? They're at their core. But it depends on their levels, right? So there's like many layers of like, say, like, what was the comment? What did he say? Tough, hardcore.
He makes
hard, tough girls. So yeah, there can be hard, tough girls, but you go through those layers. Her core, she's just a woman at the very core, right? The nice shy girl, she's got those layers as well. But you go through those, she's just at the core, just a woman. And I don't mean that in any kind of like devaluing or it's just a simple, like very like core essential womanness that's in there. And it's pretty much the same across the board.
So would you say that there's more to the question, have you tried fucking her into submission? Would you say it's more mental play at the end of the day than it is anything physical? That's what it sounds like, because when I pose the question, everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna get some fucking tips," and I was like,
Which shows why a lot of women are not experiencing orgasms because of that mindset that people are walking around with and thinking that it's what they're doing in the bed alone that is driving these orgasms, not understanding that there's some other components. So that's why we're really happy when you come here, pause, and show us how to come. Shit. I mean, look.
No. There's a shitload of women who can't come, who've never had an orgasm before.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's a ton of women like that, and for the longest time they think they've had an orgasm, but they've never really had an orgasm. Right? Until they have an orgasm, they go, "Oh shit, that's an orgasm." Right? A lot of women, a lot.
But doesn't that also come from them not knowing their bodies? Not so much the man doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. It's a mixture. So yes, it's women just not having good connection with their body. There's guilt, there's shame, there's religion, there's simply like physically abuse. Just not knowing what to do. Right. So on top of the mental barriers, there's also some physical barriers. And so if you got a guy who's here just for fucking, right, and trying to get his stroke game, and then you got a woman who is largely disconnected from her sexuality, you're going to have some pretty bad sex, right?
Hold on. Damn, that sounds like a lot of America.
Well, it's just a lot of people. There's just a lot of people, right? Like I can't remember the statistic, but it's a shit ton of women who've never had an orgasm before. Yeah. So for all these guys out here who think that they're great in bed, understands that for the most part, the women that you've been with are not sexually pleased.
And they don't believe that when I say it.
Right. But however, I understand women do not like hurting feelings. Okay.
Yep.
If you're doing something quick, you know what? You don't have to say anything. You met with a guy a couple times. You're not going to see him again. It doesn't matter. But if you're in a situation with somebody and you're going on months, right? You're going on many weeks. You're going on months and you're not sexually satisfied, right? You need to speak up because it's your own body, right? So if he's, going down on you and he's like over here, and you're like, no, you're thinking to yourself, no, just move 1 inch to the left and you'll be on my clit. Just 1 inch, please.
It's not there. It's
right. Like you have to speak up and say, move 1 inch to the left. No, your left, my right. Right. So you have to speak up if it's something that's consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because just a lot of guys don't really have that knowledge, and they think that just having this like pile driver sort of sex is the best and only way to have sex. No, hey, I'm in that group as well at times. Like I love a good hard fuck, right? Because part of that is mental, right? Part of that is I am just fucking dominating your body physically, right?
Does it feel good to your penis though?
Yes. Yeah. I'm talking like just the stroking, like the hard, like pile driver type fucking.
Yeah. No.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That feels amazing. But it's also this attitude, this dominant, like animalistic attitude of I am taking control of your body. It's mine, and I'm going to use it however I feel. Right. But at the same, and that also has like a mental, like emotional enjoyment, I think, for many women. Right. Is that going to bring them orgasms? Sometimes, right? Sometimes they can have a cervical orgasm, but it's certainly not going to give them a clitoral orgasm. Right. That needs direct clitoral stimulation. Right. So fucking her into submission, maybe yes, but it's not necessarily going to be sexually satisfying. Right. Submission isn't necessarily satisfying in that way at all. Right. It's a becoming in a state of being. Right. And yeah, I guess it could come from being fucked really hard. But it's like, are you following up with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I just, for some reason, what came into my mind was that guy Negan from Walking Dead. Remember that guy, Negan?
The guy with the bat?
Yes. Right. It's like, yeah, you could take his bat and beat somebody's head in. Okay. But if you're not Negan, you're not going to get the following, the respect, and the fear that he had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was whole mindset.
Right. And he didn't even need the bat. He just had it because he fucking liked it. Right. He liked using his bat. He had a name for it. Right. It was his favorite little thing. But did he need it? Hell no. Hell no. Right.
That damn bat.
And that's what I'm saying, by guys having to put their own sexual gratification on the back burner. Just like he doesn't need that bat to be Negan. Right. To be Negan is just to be Negan. And what did his followers say? They say, you know, when someone captured them, like, who are you? What's your name? And they just say, I am Negan. Right. That's what happens when a woman submits to you in that deep level. Like, I am an extension of my man. Right. That's that devotion. That's that religious conversion. But the dick isn't the thing that gets you there. Right. It's he who wields the dick that gets you there. Right. Just like it's Negan wielding that bat. It could have been fucking anything. It could have been a steel pipe. It doesn't fucking matter. You know,
that reminds me of like the analogy I used. It's not necessarily the tools, but the person who's using them. Because like you know, I used to be a makeup artist, so I used to teach makeup classes, and the number one question people always wanted to know was like, what brand, what this? And I'm like, it's none of those things. It's you. It's you. You can give me a box of Crayola crayons. I'm gonna paint that face the same. So and that's what people, they always want this something outside. We always want something outside of us to be it, and we already have it. But we just have to use all of it, like the brain, the tongue, like every little piece, and like just it's so many things that you can do, and I'm glad that you're bringing that to light because we don't hear it enough.
No, there is. Yeah, Tristan Draper. I don't know how long you've been here, but no, I'm not giving a tutorial. Yes, I'm not giving a tutorial. I'm not giving a fucking tutorial. The men need to learn to set a foundational base before insertion. Yeah, the foundational base actually has to be yourself before you even involve yourself with a woman at all. That is the foundational base. So I'm glad you brought that up. But that's probably not what you were talking about in the slightest. Foreplay, take your time. It's all about the mood. This is TK saying this. I like to tease the cat, make love, and go savage. I go back and forth. They always bust hard. Yeah, variety is really important. Variety is like super important, right?
Yeah, that back and forth is everything.
Yep. And mixing, like I mentioned this before, like, so your physical attribute, or like, sorry, your physical actions can be very savage, right? But the things that come out of your mouth are beautiful and praising, right? You mix that up, right?
That's a nice one.
Or you flip the opposite, right? Your actions are sensual and romantic, but your mouth is fucking dirty and fucked, right?
That's a nice mix.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing when you're saying that now, I feel like we're going back to the time aspect. Because
what do you mean?
Because you have to get to know your partner in order to know some of these things. Like, for instance, to be able to gauge, because you've been you've been more experienced than a lot of these gentlemen, right? So a lot of them are learning either from you or from other people like you, you know, and they're and so they haven't probably, and especially with younger guys, they probably haven't developed that sense of intuition to know, oh wow, this lady that likes to be degraded, right, every now and then, right, or this, oh she's a lady who will like blah blah blah. Like you can kind of gauge what where you want to go with it, how you
See,
want to do it.
I wouldn't do. See, in the BDSM world, they do a lot of what they call vetting, and what they do is they try to figure out all the little things that they like, the dislike. I think it would be the only thing you need to really know is like their hard limits, right? If they're like, you know what, don't smack me, right? Don't smack me in the face. You can smack any part of my body, just don't smack me in the face, right? Or don't spit in my mouth. Don't, like I would say just talk about the hard limits, okay? But the green and yellows, don't worry about that. But a lot of people, they go through this like thing with like a fine tooth comb, like what do you like? What do you dislike? Let's talk about all the little details. And it's like, no, you know what? Just go in there and make messy action, right? Make mistakes. That's part of growth. And I think like a lot of guys, they're so stuck on going into YouTube and trying to figure out the secret sauce so they never make mistakes. Right. So they come off as like the perfect guy. They want to come off as unrejectable, right? They don't want to make any mistakes. But the thing is, like, you never get good at anything without making mistakes. I fucked up tons of times.
That's great
right?
to hear. Mm-hmm.
I've embarrassed myself a lot in front of women, right? I've made women cry, right? I've had women like not like attack me, but like physically defend themselves, right? It's and just as a reaction of like, oh, I don't like that, like, like push or whatever. And it's okay. Like it all comes down to like how you manage the situations and how you can learn from them. Okay. You're gonna fuck up. You're going to try things that the person doesn't like. You're going to try things that they like. You're going to try things that they like that they didn't know that they like. You didn't that you didn't know you like. Okay. So but you can't get in there and expect to be perfect by having tons and tons and tons of preparation, right? You have to get in there and get your hands dirty, so to speak, and take messy action, which, one of my business coaches told me this. Like, you just have to do stuff, and some things are going to work, some things are not going to work, right? You're going to find yourself in compromising situations, and you're going to have to figure out how to get them out. That's what a man does. He figures things out, right? And so you really can't try to be this like Boy Scout, super prepared and like, oh yeah, because all that is fear-based. That's being afraid and not wanting to be rejected by a woman. And that is the fucking death of you, right? Death of you. What did I say in the very beginning? Always be cognizant and be okay with losing her, right? Because if you're afraid, that just that drop of fear, just like what one of my teachers would say, if you take a big pitcher of water and put one drop of cyanide in it, would you drink it? No. Like, even if it wouldn't kill you, you'd be like, fuck, I'm not even gonna. No, that one drop of cyanide taints the entire pitcher of water, right? That just a little bit of fear will taint your whole game. A little bit of doubt will taint your whole game, right? You just have to believe in yourself. But with that, understand that doesn't mean 100% success all the time. You're going to fuck up,
That's
I love that.
So important.
Yeah. And then they're worrying about, oh, well, she's not doing all this stuff. It's like, dude, you're worrying about the wrong person here, right? She's not doing this. She's not a freak in the bed. She's not submissive. She's not this. She's not that. And it's like, dude, just get your own fucking head straight and stop thinking about her so goddamn much. Okay. Once you get that down, then you actually can think about her, right, but in a way that you want to have her experience things. You get creative, you start having fun, you start getting crafty, right? You start thinking of like, oh, it almost turns into like Christmas time at that point.
And would you say, Justin, that women like experiences more so than the sex itself, like the full experience of
Well,
the
yeah,
sex.
yeah,
Because I
they
notice a
become
lot of men, they
part of
want
their
the nut.
experience.
They just want the nut, you know?
Yeah.
But
No, some women just want the nut too. You know,
oh
like
no, that's
women
true.
love
That's
sex.
true.
You know, sometimes you just want to have an orgasm, be simple with it. But generally speaking, yeah, of course, I would say that because you become more immersed, and then the more you can immerse her into the experience. See, we're talking about how fucking her into submission, fucking with her head. The more you can immerse her into the situation, and she becomes part of that, and she starts losing her sense of self and sense of time and sense of space. Then when she comes back to that, you know, it's kind of like those stories you hear about, like people who were abducted by aliens and they have time loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're back in their car, right? The car is running, and they look at the clock and they're like, "Holy shit! Fucking 4 hours went by. What just happened? You know, where am I?
That's true.
When am
That's
I?
true.
Right?" And that's when it becomes really powerful, right? But you can't get there if you're just worried about coming on her tits, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, guys? Like you can't really produce that, but when you do, the returns, right? The returns are so much more satisfying, right? Because she's like, "Whoa, I want to experience my no self again," right? Because who she has to be, the large part of the day is fucking stressful. There's anxiety, there's overthinking, there's fucking overfeeling, there's this way, that way. It's chaos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then to have that all vanish for I don't know how much time, and she loses sense of that self, she loses sense of time, and you're wielding that situation. Whoa, that's fucking powerful right there. That's really powerful. Really
Very, because
powerful.
it is like a time lapse. Like sometimes you'll be making love, it's like the sun's coming up and you're like, what? Or you'll be like, what time is it? 3:00 in the morning. What? How is it 3:00 in the morning? We got in bed at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Very
Yes.
true. Kevin Samuels Ghost says, make her feel like she's in a fairy tale.
I love it.
That's one way. Yeah, I mean, you should be, exercising romance, sensuality, kinkiness, naughtiness, raunchiness, playfulness, right? Like you don't have just one mode. You know what I'm saying? You got many modes. You should try out many modes. You know, fellas, cut your fingernails. Yeah, Tristan, that's true.
Clean your fingernails. Clean your fingernails.
Cut your nails.
Clean and cut. Yeah, the white. I do not want no whites. No whites, please.
I'm like, where are you sticking that finger, sir? No, sir. No, sir. What was that book that you mentioned before, Justin, with the woman who wrote all the fantasies, or they asked a bunch of women fantasies? What was the name of that again?
Get it? Well, get it. It's called My Secret Garden.
Secret Garden.
I tell all my clients to do this because it's part of leading. It's part of leading sexually. So to lead sexually, you have to understand a little bit, just a little bit, that women have very imaginative minds. Okay. Way more than guys do. Way more. Okay. And so if you get an idea of this and understands that the largest selling book genre in the world are smutty romance novels, and then just above that are religious texts. So it's like religious books and then smutty romance novels. That's number 2, like globally, right? So
that sounds about right. Contrast.
Right, they love to fantasize, right, about the different feelings, and in the stories, there's romance, there's danger, there's excitement, there's all the different flavors, and so I have them read this book, and then I have them writing their own short stories, writing their own scenarios, and what that does is it helps them get a clear sense of what they want to do, right? So you get this vision, you get this idea, like, okay, this is what I want to do with my girl. This is what I want to do with the girl that comes over. And you run it through your head like in a theater, right? You run through every little bit, like, okay, this is how I want it to go. It may not actually go exactly that way, but the fact that you've done some sort of rehearsing and getting this going in the direction you want it to go will help as you're interacting with the woman. Right. And then that allows you to lead, right? That allows her to immerse herself into the experience because she'll sense that you have an idea of what you're doing. You're not just kind of like fumbling about, second guessing, or just moving based on your instinct. Like you're a little bit detached, and you're watching the whole thing and leading it through so that she will fall into that a lot easier if you're just kind of like going with the flow, like that's not how a good dominant works, right? Good dominant works through planning and seeing a vision and then making it happen. Like someone here mentioned scenes, right? When some women love scenes. Yeah, scenes are a big thing in BDSM, right? And some people get into scenes right away, but I think they take a lot of trust, right? To concoct a scene. They're fun too. They certainly can be fun, but you got to figure out like what your purpose is for that scene. Right?
I mean, I love that idea, because I don't think most men plan what they're going to do. They're just going by, she's going to come over here, I'm going to kiss her, my dick's going to get hard, we're going to end up fucking. But to plan in advance is amazing. Like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do that. So the book was, I wanted to repeat, My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday, right?
Nancy Friday. Yep. That's right.
Okay. So fellas, buy that book. There's a lot of fantasies in there, but I think it's great. You should have a plan instead of just being led literally by your dick. Like, have a plan of what you're going to do and what you're going to try. Like the same way you would plan a dinner or a date. That's how you should be planning to make love.
Yeah.
This has been $1 million dream. Like,
yes.
No lies. This has been like, there's so many jewels that have been dropped. I'm talking about the jewels that have been dropped on here tonight are so
just gotta want to learn.
Yeah, you gotta want to learn, because if you don't, it's gonna go over your head. You're not gonna realize how monumental these things that have been dropped.
Yeah, even pick up some of those books. Like, they're usually sold in like grocery stores or maybe not grocery stores anymore. But I remember when I was a kid, I saw Fabio on the cover of many books. You guys remember Fabio?
I remember Fabio was everywhere.
He was the model for like tons of those books, right? And the covers were all like embossed and stuff. They had like the raised. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, they still sell them in drugstores, I believe. So I'd suggest to guys, buy a couple of these books. Yeah, you're gonna look embarrassing when you're standing online there, but just buy like 3 of these books, right? And read them and understand the pacing, and understand the structure of the story and how it guides the emotions and the imagination, right? Because that's what you can do once you understand, and that's how you start being able to inject your vision, inject your imagination into her head and start leading her experience, right? It's really powerful. It really is. But you got to start exercising your imagination. It's not about your dick. It's about your head, right? It's about your imagination.
See, and everybody thought that the caption, "Have you tried fucking her into submission?" was going to be one thing, and it really isn't. Pick up them books. Also, watch the movie 365 on Netflix. Watch Sex Life, the series on Netflix. There's a lot of little jewels and gems out there that guys don't even think about exploring, because they think it's just for women, and you learn so much by what women want to see.
So The Notebook. Oh my gosh. The Notebook, you'll see what happens in The Notebook when the woman is like locked into a dude. You will see, right? And you see like how he, I mean, they fudged it in, and they always do this. Like they did this in Sex Life too. All right. They turn the dude into a nice guy. Right. It's like, oh yeah, he came around eventually.
Yeah.
And like that.
I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the ending to the second season. I was like, what the fuck?
Is there going to be another season? I finished it this morning.
You finished season 2?
Yep, this morning. So we can talk about it. Yeah.
I didn't like the ending. I was like, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah,
I thought it would have been nice. I thought it would have been nice if she would have went on about her life single, just, thinking about everything that she had gone through. But to tie it up in a nice little bow was corny for me.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. And all the argumentative guys on YouTube were watching that, just hoping and praying that she would have been single, led that single life, and be like, look at her, see, she can't get either guy, and now she's left single with her cats. That's what they love. They love saying you're gonna be single in your 40s with cats. You're gonna be a cat lady, And it's
I hear
like,
that so much. Like I'm like, dude, trust me, if I wanted to.
yeah, you could get,
Right.
you could probably get laid 5 days a week if
Right.
you know,
5
with,
times a day.
yeah, without trying much at all, without trying
At
much at all,
all.
right?
All I got to check the fucking mail. Shit.
Yeah. Like, if it, like think about like how quickly you could turn a guy around to wanting to come see you. Like how many messages do you think that would take? Like you say
One.
We don't even have to send messages.
No, I'm saying like say there's a guy who got into your DMs and you're like, oh, whatever, you didn't even respond to him. Okay. Now let's say 2 weeks go by and you decide to respond to him. How quickly, how many messages, how many licks to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop? How many messages do you think it would take to get him to be like, can I come see you?
One.
Right. If if you were
could just be a wave.
Right.
An
A wave. Right. No, but like so you could just be like, hey, you know what? Actually, I'd like to see you. Right? What are you doing? And that one message, they would probably clear their fucking schedule.
It would.
Yes.
It really. So I'm like, honey, no. If I'm single, it's because I want to be. Trust me.
Many choices. Trust me.
I mean, I have break emergency glass, contacts in my phone, but I'm chilling right now.
That's funny. That's funny. My girl just asked me if I would ABC her pussy.
You said no ABC.
No, she's playing with me. She's a very playful girl. Okay. Yeah, she's very playful. Do the ABCs. Yeah, baby, I'll do the ABCs.
Don't forget the D, though.
Right. I'll skip that one.
Oh my God. This was absolutely amazing, Mr. Justin. We love when you pull up to the block. You guys know we do Freaky Fridays and Sexy Saturday. Let me tell you, Lily thought of a great topic for Sexy Saturday for tomorrow. Lily, can you explain it? There were two and I wanted to combine them for tomorrow.
All right. The first one is the evolution of sex. And we're going to take, like, we're all together. We're going to go on a journey from when we lost our virginity and then the pathway of the things that we learned throughout the way, some of the mistakes, some of the highlights, and then where we're at today. And then we're going to incorporate how porn affected our sex life. What did we pick up from it? What did we learn from it? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it positive? Was it negative? Was it both? Was it neither? We're going to figure that out tomorrow together.
What did we end up wanting because we watched porn at a young age? Because that's usually how we're all exposed to sex, is one of our friends has a tape or...
Yeah.
Oh, man. I remember finding Debbie Does Dallas. That was like one of the first. You remember? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I remember that. Was that your intro? Was that your intro to sex?
That was
my intro to porn. I was having sex before I saw that, but that was my first intro to porn. And Debbie Does Dallas, man, with the big hair and they're like late 70s, I think, or early 80s. That was. I mean, that's like when it was produced. That's not when I saw it, but. I would have been like 2 years old, but yeah, that was a trip, man, with the bass lines and the funky music and all that good shit, wood paneling on the walls.
A lot of pubic hair.
Not the wood.
Hair.
Not the wood paneling.
Yeah, they had huge bush,
Oh my goodness.
Nowadays you don't ever find a woman with a bush.
Unless it's a kink, unless it's a fetish porn.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen ads like that, like gigs, like, are you fully grown, blah, blah. Yeah, I've seen gigs like that. So I'm like, somebody's into it.
But if you like eating pussy, it's nicer if it's, smooth.
I say the same thing about guys, though.
I mean, but hey, you know what? If like a woman wants to have hair on her mons, which is like the top of the pubic bone, she wants to have some hair, that's totally fine. Like, yeah, like do whatever you want, but like down by like the labia and all that and the ass, like that, it can get compromising to go down on a woman when she's all hairy.
I agree.
Down there. Yeah,
I completely agree. TK said hairy bush is sexy. You on your own, TK.
No, hey, like I knew a guy actually who loved hairy women. Period. He
Yeah,
told
it's a
like he,
thing.
no, he got married to this woman. He says, listen, I mean, before they got married, but he was like, listen, I don't want you to shave. Like, shave nothing. And she's like, really? Yeah. She had hairy legs, like hairy armpits, hairy pussy, like everything.
I couldn't do it.
Holy
I
shit.
fucking
despise
loved it.
hair on my body. I
Oh, like
despise
I'd be at like a cafe. This is in upstate New York in Syracuse area. And we'd be like hanging out, like, outside drinking coffees in the sun. And like his girl would kind of be there with her leg like up on his in shorts, and he's like sitting, like just stroking his fingers like through her leg hair, like just in total bliss. Right.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
he was happy, and I'm happy for him.
Right. I love that he loves it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was way the fuck into it. Big time. I mean,
I
certainly
love
at
that he
his
loves
level, I
it.
would say it was a kink, like at his level. Yes. Oh, for the people who I didn't even answer the question. Right. Okay. Just really quick. A fetish is a unique sexual expression that is needed for sexual gratification. Like, you can't have an orgasm unless you're doing or having or experiencing or using X. Right.
So do you think it's overused and misused when people are like, well, you
Yeah.
fetishized blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. It's an inappropriately used term all the time, much like
That's
narcissism.
true.
Oh God, narcissism. Everybody's a narcissist. Can you pass me that glass? Are you a narcissist?
Everyone's ex is a
Asked me
narcissist.
to pass the glass. You couldn't get the glass yourself?
You
Right.
fucking narc.
You narc.
Yeah.
You're such a narc. Everybody's a narc.
Yes.
I like hearing on there, but don't. Anyway, so that's tomorrow, the evolution of our journey with sex and how porn affected it, and good, bad, and different, what we ended up liking or not liking because of experiences, blah, blah. We'll be doing that Mañana for Sexy, Saturday, same bat time, around 10:30. Everyone is welcome. You're welcome to cam up. You're welcome to share your experiences or hang in the chat. But if you come up, you got to show your grill. We need your grill. And tomorrow we're not having any drama, okay? Tonight was an exception. Though it was short-lived, no drama tomorrow. We're gonna keep it sexy, and Saturday all night. So thank you for holding me down in the chat. Mr. Justin, just remind people really quickly where they can find you in case they need reminders of what books were
absolutely.
and all that.
So yeah, if you have any questions, you want to chat, it's easy to find me. I'm on Instagram at Mr. Justin_X. And I have many tiers of coaching that I do. I just do like one-off 1 hour coaching. If you just got like a quick little situation, I've got different packages where you can get like 4 sessions in a month. And that makes it a little bit cheaper than buying the one-offs by themselves 4 times. I've got different tiers of coaching depending on the need, as well as like a full-blown, like, elite session for, say, you're just all looped out, nice guy, nothing works out for you, and it takes months, right? But you set yourself on the right kind of path and you can get things going for yourself in a much better way. So yeah, if you got any questions about the programs that I've got going, I also have a pre-recorded dating course. So if you want access to that, that's very reasonably priced. And if you have any questions, you just want to shoot the shit or whatever, just hit me up on IG, Mr. Justin_X.
Mr. Justin_X. And even if you're not ready to buy anything right now, fellas, just follow the Instagram just in case, so you could stay posted. I love your posts. Sometimes I go check and see what you're dropping and see what's going on over there. I'm like, what's Mr. Justin dropping over there? So sometimes I do that. I enjoy your page.
What is your page, Justin?
Mr. Justin_X.
Okay. And is that on Instagram as well, or just?
No, that's IG. I only mess with IG. Yeah. That's right.
So get on over there and follow that page. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mr. Justin. Always a joy when you pull up to the block.
Thank you for having me on the block.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So good night. Thank you so much for holding me down in the chat. Don't forget to support the show. Cash App on the block with Jen. If you're catching a replay, share this with your friends. Share this with your man if he needs to hear it. Okay. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great night, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we're out.
All righty. Very good. Awesome. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying thank you and have a good night. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. All right, guys, if you're still here for any reason, hit that like and subscribe for mama. Don't forget to follow me as well on The Block with Jen on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. If you want to Gmail me, it's also on The Block with Jen at Gmail. Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding me down, chat. Thank you for all the super chats. Don't forget, support the show, Cash App on The Block with Jen. Help me keep the church lights on. We have church here. I hope you enjoy our Freaky Fridays and our Sexy Saturdays. You know, for the rest of the week, we usually have serious topics and debates, but on Friday and Saturday, I like to bring you some sexy time, but we're still learning. Yeah. Don't forget to get that book, My Secret Garden by Nancy. Tristan, who was it? Nancy what? Nancy. Tristan dropped it in the chat by Nancy Friday, and we're on Freaky Friday, so it's easy to remember. Nancy Friday. All right, My Secret Garden. Watch 365 on Netflix. Watch Sex Life on Netflix. There's a lot of information there about how women think. The series Sex Life on Netflix. All right, guys, so we are out. Good night. Good night.